Hey guys, Hitman89 here. I hope you're doing great, and today I'm gonna show you the best RPGs to play right now. I always try to make my videos as entertaining as possible, so lay back, relax, and maybe bring some food. Cause I don't know about you, but I can't eat without watching a good YouTube video. Speaking of food, this video is sponsored by Factor. Get fresh, chef-prepared meals delivered to your doorstep. We're talking nutritious and healthy meals that fit your lifestyle. Factor has keto, vegan, calorie smart, and more than 27 meal options each week. It basically has everything you need. It's so convenient, it leaves you time and energy to work on your projects, stream, or play your favorite video games. Cause me personally, I have a full-time job, I also do YouTube, and I work out every day. So instead of wasting time shopping and prepping meals, I just use Factor. So simply use my link in the description or head over to go.factor75.com and use code FACTORSE32699 to get 50% off your first box. Now let's take a look at the first game on my list. I'm not a Harry Potter fan, so I was hesitant to play Hogwarts Legacy at first, and I'm glad I waited until the game got patched a few times, cause it's much more polished now. Well, kinda. At least the graphics are great. I really like the animations that make the world interesting to explore. I just wish it had more interactivity though, cause sadly, you can't talk to most NPCs and you can only interact with certain objects, which for an open world game is kinda lame. So on Hogwarts Legacy, you get to create and name your character, customize your gear and even your wand. As you can see, mine is 14 inches long and it's stiff. Oh, and when you hit level 5, you start getting talent points every time you level up. You can spend those later on to unlock new skills. So whether you're into Harry Potter or if you're just a virgin, Hogwarts Legacy is perfect for you. The second game I want to show you is a masterpiece that finally got a next-gen update. If you're on PC, then you've probably already modded the shit out of The Witcher 3 and made it look so much better than this updated version. But if you're on console, then you'll be happy to know the performance issues have been fixed by the latest update, so you can now play the next-gen version properly in performance mode. The characters don't look next-gen at all, the animations are still stiff, and you'll come across a few bugs here and there. But the environments look stunning. Plus, if you're on PS5, the haptic feedback and adaptive triggers make the gameplay more enjoyable. If you already own The Witcher 3 on PS4, Xbox One or PC, then you can get this update for free. At number 3, we're gonna be looking at the team-based RPG. Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous came out on consoles last year, and it just got the new DLC. That's why it's on my list. Anyway, this isometric game has something that I wish more games would have, which is 2 combat modes, real-time with pause and turn-based. You can even switch between them at will, and that's awesome. Personally, I tend to prefer turn-based combat in isometric RPGs. Maybe it's cause I'm getting old, I don't know. Make sure you tell me in the comments down below if you're team turn-based or team real-time. Let's see what most people prefer. Speaking of which, the JRPG I'm about to show you's got the turn-based combat system. Piece Odyssey is the best One Piece game yet. Now I'm really not an anime fan, like at all, so I had my brother come over to play the game cause he's a huge One Piece fan and I wanted to have his opinion. After playing the game all day, this is basically what he said.
It's easy and repetitive, but it's great for One Piece fans, so yeah, please watch Attack on Titan.
I'm such a piece of shit for making him sound like that. So here's my professional opinion now. It's true that the game is way too easy, and I really hope it ends up getting an update that adds difficulty options to make it much more enjoyable. There's also too much hand-holding, which makes it feel like the game was made for dummies, or maybe for little kids. They're basically the same thing, right? But it's so similar to Dragon Quest XI in so many ways that even if you haven't seen a single episode of One Piece, you might still like the game. Moving on from the easiest game on this list to probably the hardest one. Wulong Fallen Dynasty is for those of you who love Neo, and what's really impressive about this game is that even though it just came out, somehow it looks like an early PS3 game. Oh, and what's even more impressive is that it manages to run like shit. Seriously though, I started playing Wulong, slowly learned its game mechanics, leveled up a few times and made it to the first boss fight. I died like 5 or 6 times, but I managed to beat that motherfucker. And I was like, hell yeah! People said this was pretty damn tough and it only took me 5 tries. But after the cutscene I realized it was only the first phase, the guy turned into a dragon and he one-shot me. So yeah, before you buy Wulong, you should know the first boss fight is insanely difficult. If this was a Souls game though, I would 100% put in the time and effort to beat the whole game, but I honestly don't like the fast-paced gameplay, so let's just move on to the 6th game. Oh, look what we have here! Elden Ring! This is only for the 2.6 people out there who still haven't played Elden Ring. If you like Souls games and you enjoy exploring an intriguing world with no hand-holding, then who am I kidding? You probably already played Elden Ring, so let's move on to the next game. Just kidding, let's talk about it some more. Compared to most games, this one can be pretty tough, but honestly, it's incredibly flexible. You can pretty much beat the game with any build you can think of. All you need to do is watch a couple of guides, level up, and upgrade your gear and weapons. Oh, and get good. Yeah, you really need to do that. So Elden Ring is getting a DLC later this year, even though it's still got shitty performance every now and then. By the way, if you want an in-depth 2023 review, check out the one I made by clicking the bubble that just showed up. And now, let's move on to the 7th game, which is completely different. Octopath Traveler looks like a PS1 game, but I loved playing it, and now that it got a sequel, which is pretty much the same game with a different story, or stories, should I say, because as the name of the game suggests, there are 8 protagonists to choose from, and each have their own story, so replayability-wise, you definitely get your money's worth. Personally, I went with Oswald, because he's imprisoned for murdering his wife and daughter, and I felt like that's someone I could relate to. Make sure you like turn-based combat and grinding though, cause that's what the whole game is about. So if you only like real-time combat, you should check out the next game that I'm sure you've never heard of. For real, I feel like Asterigos' Curse of the Stars flew under everyone's radar, which is a shame cause this indie action RPG is basically a mix of Immortals Phoenix Rising in the visuals and a little bit of Dark Souls in the gameplay department, which I honestly don't even like to say cause everyone on YouTube calls any semi-challenging action RPG a Souls-like, but this one has a lot of Souls stuff. I mean, they even copied the Mimic chests. The graphics are just okay, the combat is decent and definitely challenging. I died many times, but I got lost way more times than I died, so I don't know about the level design here. Boss fights can be interesting and there are 6 weapon classes, so if you like what you see, go ahead and give the game a shot. Now, at number 9, we have another underrated game. The Last Oricru is a flawed, story-driven RPG which can be beaten within 15 hours. However, I've always had a thing for challenging RPGs, no matter how broken they are. So The Last Oricru allows you to make meaningful choices that truly impact the course of the story. It has a Souls-like combat system, and most importantly, it can be played entirely in split screen. It received a few updates that added a map, an in-game indicator, and some other quality of life improvements, which is dope. What's not gonna be fixed with updates though is the shitty voice acting. The main character sounds like a fucking idiot, so keep that in mind. Last but not least, we have Darkest Dungeon 2, a roguelike turn-based RPG where you have to go on a road trip through a decaying world in order to stop the apocalypse. In addition to all the elements you had to manage on the first game, on the sequel, you'll also have to take into consideration your hero's stress levels, which will go up like crazy when they witness their companions get brutally slaughtered. Darkest Dungeon 2 is a PC-only game, the full release is in May, and at the moment of making this video, the game is still in early access, it's perfectly playable though, and if you're still on the fence, you can download the demo and try it out right now. Before I let you guys go, here are a couple of honorable mentions. Elix 2 is broken and outdated, but I've always been a Gothic and Risen fan, so I played Elix 2 last year and I ended up beating it. But if you want a much better looking game with basic RPG elements, then you might want to get Horizon Forbidden West, which is now included with PS Plus Extra and Premium. And that's gonna be it for the best RPGs to play right now. I did my best to include a couple of underrated ones, so I really hope you were able to find a game you like. If that's the case, please hit the thumbs up button and consider subscribing if you're new to the channel. Now that I got my shit together, I will be uploading a top 10 or a game review every Saturday, so stay tuned. It's been Hitman89, see you guys very soon.
For the pay stub or you'll pay up. Don't make love to the game, bruh. Fuck the game up. Change up, rearrange stuff to your greatness. Famous for the way up. Play the game, bruh.